Hey, I'm back again already. For those of you who see my Minions trailer, this is my Tomorrowland Minions trailer, my Minions review, which I saw today, and I've decided I'm going to go ahead and play some catch up for the last 5 or 6 summer movies that I've seen already. So next I'm going to do Tomorrowland, and while I said I was going to do Avengers and Ant-Man, I'm going to do those, but I also forgot In and Out. And so if Tomorrowland's my most disappointing movie, In and Out is the best movie I've seen, and I'll do that one right after I finish this disappointing Tomorrowland movie. And it was, for me, I had seen trailers for this movie since, golly, at least a year in advance. It has George Clooney and little blonde-headed lady that is also in the Clint Eastwood's son cowboy movie that I never saw. Anyway, the acting in itself in this movie, George Clooney does a fantastic job. The blonde-headed gal does a great job, and then there's a third younger woman. I'd say late teens is what she's portrayed as. She's this robot character, and the way the movie sets up, it's Tomorrowland. If you've been to Disneyland, they have a section called Tomorrowland. I think that's where the teacups are, and it's been decades now. It's hard to say, it's hard to believe decades, but since I've been there, but Tomorrowland's in there, and the way the trailers had set up this whole nine months, I was expecting to go to this land and to be there and to explore it, and they do some of that. There's a at the very beginning of the movie, they show George Clooney when he's a little kid, and it has that typical Disney feel to it. When I say typical, you get worried sometimes with Disney coming out with all these feature films, and it, so on some level, I believe it kind of links into their Marvel universe. There's a those of you who grew up on the 1980s Disney specials that came on Sunday nights. I watched about the only ones I really liked were the animated ones. So whenever they had I liked the Love Bug, and outside of that, when I saw that there was going to be a movie and not an animated thing, I always turned it off. Well, Tomorrowland, the way it starts, it has that feel of a Disney film. Just the music and the whole the adventuristic type, if I can say that word, that feel to it that you would see in a typical Disney movie is there. And so you go back to George Clooney's time on Tomorrowland, and then he meets that little girl, not the blonde one, but the other one who really you don't see at all in the trailers. So I am completely spoiling this movie for you if you have not seen it. And like I said on my Minions, I'm going to start spoiling movies from now on, because I think it's just more fun to talk about things openly, and once in a while throw political, social, religious commentary in there as well. But anyway, on Tomorrowland, many of you saw the trailer piece, and I am going back and forth on this because it's been so long since I've seen it. But you saw the trailer, and if you saw Age of Ultron in the IMAX, you got to see the 10-minute segment where she finds the coin, and then she wants to go find George Clooney, because whenever you touch this coin, you go off to Tomorrowland, and it's an absolutely gorgeous place. If you can imagine Wizard of Oz, and whenever they go finally see Oz and his kingdom and everything, that's kind of the imagery I felt like I was watching when she touched that coin and she would go there. And so she wants to know what's going on with this. So she locates that it's the George Clooney character that can solve all of her issues. She finally gets to him, and there's bad guys chasing her because they know she's got this coin, and they know all about this, and they're trying to stop her. So the scene that you see in most of the trailers where she knocks on the door, George Clooney doesn't want her to come in. She finally comes in, and you saw this at the Age of Ultron premiere showing that she gets in the house, the bad guys get in there, they get in the bathtub to get away from the bad guys, and at this point, I thought they were always going to go to Tomorrowland. I thought, okay, we're going to go to Tomorrowland. Well, for those of you who saw the movie, they get into the bathtub, and that whole scene summarizes what happens to this movie, because they get in the bathtub, you think you're going to launch off into Tomorrowland or whatever, and you just end up going into the pond that's just a few feet away. And that's the way this movie turns out. You just end up in the water wet, and you're disappointed that you're like, really? We had spent 9 to 10 months waiting for this movie, and this is what we get. Just disappointment. Like I said, the acting is fantastic. I just felt the bad guys could have done a little bit better job. we didn't really explore Tomorrowland. It looked like from what little I remember of it, it looked like something that you might see in maybe a Buck Rogers film. Uh, oh, it had a little bit of a, uh, well, I can't think of yeah, Buck Rogers, I guess. A little bit of that kind of, that's what the Tomorrowland kind of felt like. We never really got out and explored. We had a conflict with the bad guys, and they beat the bad guys, and everything ends up happily ever after on some level. So, don't go see it. It's already gone from the theater, so it plummeted the first weekend it was out. So skip it. If it comes out on Netflix, I guess obviously see it, but it's not worth seeing. It's a big disappointment. So I will do In and Out. That's more exciting. That's more fun. So you have a good night. Goodbye.